You are listening to a Path to a New You, a podcast about mental health and veterans issues. I am your host, Timothy Zarumsky. I am a therapist located in Madison, Wisconsin. I am a veteran. I served in the United States Navy from 2001 to 2009. You can find my this podcast, currently on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. I have a Facebook page as well for this podcast. The Facebook page, of course, is called A Path to New You, where I will post information on self care and other veteran and mental health information issues. I also post a link to this podcast as well for those who are interested in following and listening to my podcast. I post it there. So if you could please like and follow that page as well, I'd really appreciate it. And when you're done listening to my episodes, if you could review it as well as rate it, I'd appreciate it as well. That definitely helps my podcast. The higher the rating, the more popular it is, and I want more people to listen to this podcast. I want to inform people on mental health and veterans issues. You'd be surprised to see how many people out there are not quite familiar with mental health, not quite familiar with veterans issues. In this podcast, I like to educate those people. I also run a private practice, New Beginnings Counseling LLC. I do have a Facebook page for that as well. So if you could go to Facebook, if you have a Facebook, find it, like it, I appreciate that as well. I'll also post links to this podcast on there as well. This podcast is sponsored by New Beginnings Counseling LLC. It's a veteran owned private practice. They are currently seeing patients via telehealth. They do not have a wait list. They are currently our private pay. They do have a sliding scale for those who can't afford what we charge. We do have a sliding scale. We specialize in anger management, PTSD, depression, anxiety, addiction as well. You can call or text our number 608 571 3896. Again, that's number 608 571 3896 to either schedule a session or to find more, get more information about our private practice. Again, that number is 608 571 3896. You can also get a hold of us on our Facebook page as well. You can message there if you have questions or any or concerns or anything, or you like questions about my this podcast as well. I would like to get more guests on this podcast. I've had a couple in the last couple months. I've had a couple guests. So if you or you know someone who specializes in a certain area of mental health, or you're a veteran and you'd like to be a guest on my show, please contact me as well. You can contact me at the number I gave you, or you can contact me through the Facebook page of Path to New You as well. You can message me there. And if you have any questions or you would like to know more about a certain topic, you can also reach out that way as well. So, today's podcast or today's episode of this podcast, I want to talk about mental stress. You're actually asking yourself, what exactly is mental stress? Well, the definition of mental stress is a form of stress that occurs because of how events in one's external or internal environment are perceived, resulting in psychological experiences of distress and anxiety. Mental stress is often accompanied by physiological, I can't read today, responses. So, in today's episode, I want to talk about mental stress and how you can help cope with it and what you can do to help improve it so it doesn't get to the point where you can't handle it anymore. So, that's today's episode. Again, if you have any questions about this episode, you can always contact me through my Facebook page, A Path to New You. It's located on Facebook page. I think the cover page is a picture of a waterfall or something, I believe. Um, Again, you can contact me there. So there are several ways you can help cope with mental stress, or you can improve mental stress. There are different ways, things that can actually cause mental stress. Some of them can be like runaway thoughts and emotions. And there's definitely some techniques that can instantly ease the mental suffering by stopping so-called negative self-talk. I'll talk about that here in a minute. So, what exactly is self-talk? I'm talking about self-talk, and some of you may not know what self-talk is. Self-talk is the way you speak to yourself or treat yourself in your own mind, either involuntarily or on purpose. It's normal to experience both positive and negative self-talk. Unfortunately, most mental chatter, thoughts that are spontaneously enter our minds, about 70% of it is negative, according to some research that's been out there. I've got a few suggestions to help manage your negative self-talk that would definitely help your mental stress. Some of them, I'm just going to list off a couple of them. So one of them is accept your thoughts as quote unquote just thoughts. You're asking yourself, what does that mean? Well, quote unquote, the just thoughts disrupt the negative thinking and replace it with more realistic thinking. Something like to the point where it's this is my mind creating these thoughts. These are just thoughts, not me. I don't have to judge myself. Another one would be I don't have to believe these thoughts or take them seriously. So again, they're just thoughts. They're not really happening. They're just thoughts. I personally have had a few thoughts like that. Not recently, but I'm sure some of you out there have had those thoughts. Like, yeah, it's another one is quote unquote stop it. Like tell your mind to stop it. When you find yourself lost in stressful thoughts and scenarios, tell your mind, you know what, stop it. This technique is called thought stopping and is used frequently in cognitive behavioral therapy. I do talk to my clients about that too. I'm like, you know what, just tell yourself to stop it. Just stop it. It takes time. It definitely takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. So I use cognitive behavioral therapy quite a bit in my therapy sessions. Thought stopping helps you interrupt your mental chatter before it gets out of hand. So stopping it right before it gets out of hand definitely helps. Also use self-compassion messages. Repeating thought is just as painful as that you may need a comforting thought to counter it. So repeating yourself like negative self-talk, you eventually your mind makes up. It's like, you know what? It's true. There's been research about that, where if you keep telling yourself somebody, keep telling yourself, these negative thoughts like you're a bad person, you're no good. Keep telling yourself that. Or if you or someone you know or someone out there states to you keeps telling you something, eventually you just might believe it. There's research out there um, that proves that. Also, there's someone out there. I don't go into politics, but this guy keeps telling people this, and people are believing it. And some of you listening may know who I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave that right there. And again, did you use these self-compassion messages? Something like, may I keep, may I be kind to myself. You gotta be kind to yourself. Keep saying that I need to be kind to myself. That could ease your painful emotions and thoughts, or create a comforting message that works for you. Something that creates like a positive self-talk. For example, getting better at recognizing these hurtful thoughts is the first step toward curbing them. Everyone has moments of suffering like this. Like I just mentioned, everybody's got suffering like that. And then saying, may I be kind to myself. Keep saying that to yourself. Eventually, you're going to be kind to yourself. You can also note daily successes by writing them down. Every time like at the end of the day, if you've done a lot of good things and you've been successful at something. For example, I could at the end of the day say, you know what? I did a episode of my podcast. I'm gonna write that down. Or I cooked dinner for myself. I'm gonna write that down. Or I cleaned the house or something. Write it down, put on a notepad, and then put it somewhere where you see it in the morning. You see that, like, oh, I did something good. Just spot the success. Take time every day to notice at least three small wins. Sometimes it could be more than three, it's depending. Like at the end of the day, you could write three, five, six, seven, eight small wins you did that day. And you know what? Writing them down and seeing them actually makes you feel a lot better. Therefore, your mental stress would probably be down, like from a scale of like 1 to 5. Say you having a horrible day, you're so stressed out. Stressed out would be you're at a 5. For example, you could say I'm a 5. 5 out of 5. I'm so stressed out today. I don't know what's going on. Doing a lot of self-negative talk. But at the end of the day, if you write down 3 to 5, 6 small wins you did that day, when you're writing them down, you see that your mental stress will actually drop to like maybe a 3, maybe a 2, maybe a 1. It all depends. So writing it down and seeing, hey, you know what? I've had a few small wins today. I'm doing pretty well. I'll feel a lot better. It happens. There are a few other things you can do. I'm going to talk about as well. Some of them. Some of you have already been doing it. Are these that I'm going to talk about? Some of you may not. If you have not, I'm going to go into a little detail about them. Prioritizing sleep is is something that can actually help with your mental stress. So sleep is interconnected with mental health. Like seems like sleep is connected to something. It's always connected to something. Adults should average about 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. You should try to stay on a steady schedule of sleep and wake times, even on the weekends. So th- I get about 7 hours of sleep, sometimes eight. Usually about 7 or 8 hours of sleep is usually what I get. I try to go to the bed at the same time, usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I usually get up about 6:30, 7 o'clock. It's usually when I get up. There are apps out there too that can actually help track your sleep, so you can look at how much sleep you got. I forgot the name of some of the apps, but I'm sure if you Google like sleep apps, you could probably find a few on there. Um, so make sure when you are in your bed, make sure that there's the light, or I guess what I'm trying to say is it all depending on the there's things that can influence your sleep. I guess yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. So the lights, noise, substance use, that can all affect your sleep. So having a drink of wine or something like that may feel good when you're going to bed, may help you sleep, but overall, that could definitely worsen your sleep a little bit. That's what I was trying to get at. Stay active and go outside is another one. Daily exercise has been shown to help alleviate symptoms of anxiety and depression and stress. Actively moving your body stimulates production of the serotonin and endorphins, which may have a positive effect in your mind and your ability to manage stress. Working out may also help reduce fatigue, decrease tension, and elevate your mood. I know when I'm done working out, I feel pretty good after working out. Yoga is another form of working out, staying active. Practicing yoga has been found to help relieve stress and anxiety through controlled breathing and physical focus. I just started doing yoga probably about, I don't know, 3 months ago. I do it a couple times a week. One is for um, stretching for one, and then another thing, yeah, the focus and the relief I get after I do yoga definitely helps. There's free yoga classes probably on YouTube. I personally use the Peloton app for my yoga and stretching. Focus on good nutrition, eat healthy, stay away from a lot of carbs, eat some carbs. Some carbs is okay. Just focus on good nutrition. Me personally, I eat probably red meat maybe once or twice a week. Usually I eat poultry or fish with vegetables. I also drink a lot of water. Hydration is key as well. Make sure you continue hydrated. If you feel like you're dehydrated, you're not drinking enough water. So make sure you're drinking enough water. That definitely helps. Avoid or limit alcohol and other substances. Alcohol has increased. Of course, we've all alcohol increased during the pandemic. Alcohol is a depressant. While in the moment may help you feel calm, there's always an after effect. You may notice the next morning that you feel anxious or on edge or just feel so blah. Um, so yeah, of course, limit alcohol and other substances, especially it affects your sleep too. Practicing meditation. Um, Meditation's just being in the moment. I do 10 to 20-minute ones a couple times a week. I probably should do it more because once I'm done doing a meditation, I feel so much more relaxed. And there's also different types of meditations as well. There's gratitude, there's happiness meditations. You can always Google them. YouTube has a bunch of meditations on there. Again, I use the Peloton app I use Peloton for all my workouts and everything that I pretty much use for working out, Peloton related. I'm not endorsing a Peloton, and Peloton's not paying for this advertisement. I wish they would. That'd be pretty cool. But no, I'm just letting you guys know what I use. There's other the Calm app, CALM is also a popular app used for meditation, used for sleep as well. Meditating can help bring a sense of relaxation and a more tranquil mind, which may reduce stress and help calm anxiety. When you meditate, even for just a few minutes, you help clear your mind from daily stressors, which may help regulate emotions. This may be a key component to reducing symptoms of anxiety or depression. Practicing self care, I tell my clients self care is very important. And some of you be asking yourself, what is self care? Like when my clients had talked to my clients about self care, they're not quite sure what self care is. They never heard it before. And then I tell them, give them some examples. Examples of self care would be going for a walk outside, taking a bath, shower, lighting candles, reading a good book, exercising, preparing a healthy meal, stretching before bed, getting a massage, practicing a hobby, practicing yoga. So anything that pretty much you like to do as a hobby or anything like that, that's pretty much self care. Taking care of your body, taking care of your soul. There are oils and candles out there with different scents. A popular one is lavender. Um, I know there's a lot of massage oils out there that lavender, it calms just the effect of the smell, um, makes you more calm. There's other um, oils out there too, scents and stuff out there. Try journaling. I know a few of you may journal. I used to journal. I should probably get back into that. Journaling may reduce stress and anxiety and provide a positive outlet for your thoughts and emotions. Journaling's writing down how you're feeling, what you did for the day, how you're feeling and whatnot. Writing it down actually might help. And it's like if you write it down and see it, that might help your whole situation. Regular journaling may be linked to a higher quality of life, more proactive and self care behaviors, and other helpful behaviors, such as taking prescribed medications. Reducing your caffeine intake. I was a huge coffee drinker back in the day. I still am, but I don't drink as much as I used to. When I'm talking about huge coffee drinker, I'm talking about 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day. Now it's more, maybe 1 to 2. And I don't drink coffee every day like today. I didn't drink any coffee today. There is no need for me to. Um, yeah, so some days I don't drink coffee. Other days I may have 1 or 2 cups. But yeah, of course, reduce your caffeine intake. Caffeine is a chemical in coffee, tea, chocolate, and energy drinks that stimulates your central nervous system. Consuming too much may worsen anxiety, according to a 2021 review of literature on the subject. Overconsumption may also harm your sleep. In turn, this may increase stress and anxiety symptoms. People have different thresholds for how much caffeine they can tolerate. Um, so I know some out there may have like 1 or 2 cups. You're good to go, kind of like myself now. And some of you may need like 5 or 6 cups of coffee, or drink that energy drinks. Just be careful. If caffeine makes you jittery or anxious, consider cutting back by replacing coffee or energy drinks with, if you like to taste decaffeinated coffee, herbal tea, or just water. When I drink my water, I sometimes put in like it's a water flavor enhancement thing. You can get them pretty cheap at Aldi or your local grocery store. Or you can just add like lemon or lime or something to it. That definitely helps with the taste too. Although coffee has health benefits in moderation, it recommended to keep caffeine under intake about under 400 milligrams daily, which equals to about 4 to 5 cups of coffee. Spend time with friends and family. Spending time with friends and family that definitely boosts everything, your morale and your stress, relieves your stress. Social support from friends and family may help you get through stressful times and cope with stress. In 2019, there was a study where in 163 Lansing's college age young adults associated lower levels of support from friends, family, and romantic partners with loneliness, depression symptoms, and perceived stress. So there's a study out there where um, they had a few of these college age young adults, and if they weren't spending time with friends and family, they noticed there are some depressive symptoms and loneliness. Having a social support system is important for your overall mental health. If you're feeling alone and don't have friends or family to depend on, social support groups may help. I know there is an app out there called Meetup where people meet up who like different hobbies. So that's a free app that's out there. You just put in your zip code, I believe, and you put down like what kind of hobbies you have, and should come up with some different meetup groups, or you can always find them online too. Like Craigslist might have a few groups out there. But yeah, definitely having a support system definitely helps. I talk to my clients about it all the time. Say, hey, do you have a social support group? If they're like from some of them may not. They're like, well, friends of my family and everybody, they don't live in the area. Then I mentioned something like, what about this meetup app? You ever heard about that? Like your hobby, you ever wanted to try a new hobby? So then eventually they would try a new hobby, find a group, and they meet once or twice a week. And creating boundaries and learning to say no, that's extremely important one. I used to be a yes man all the time. So I also used to worry about everybody else before myself. Hence, my mental health and physical health kind of dropped quite a bit. And I've learned to say no. Learning to say no helps your mental health. One way to help reduce stress and protect your mental health may be to say no more often. It's especially true if you take on more than you can handle because juggling many responsibilities may leave you feeling overwhelmed and stressed too. Like when you're overwhelmed, you get really stressed out. And so learn to say no. Like, no, I can't do that. Being selective about what you take on and saying no to things that will unnecessarily add to your load can reduce your stress levels. Avoid procrastination is another one. I used to procrastinate all the time. I've learned to not procrastinate. Another way to control your stress is to stay on top of your priorities and avoid procrastinating when you aren't feeling stressed. Procrastination may harm your productivity and leave you scrambling to catch up. This can cause stress, which negatively affects your health and also sleep. It's also true that you may be more likely to procrastinate at times of stress as a coping mechanism. Practicing mindfulness is the last one I want to talk about. Mindfulness describes practices that anchor you to the present moment. Stress reduction and techniques that can utilize mindfulness include meditation. We just talked about that. And mindfulness based cognitive therapy, or MBCT, which is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy. Meditating consistently can, even for short periods, may help boost your mood and decrease symptoms of stress and anxiety. Again, when you're doing mindfulness, like meditating, it doesn't have to be 15, 20 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. Or just sit somewhere where it's nice and quiet, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and listen to your surroundings. On a nice day, just go outside, sit down, sit somewhere comfortably, take a few deep breaths, and just listen to your surrounding. And once you're done with that, once you're done with like the 5 to 10 minutes, you'll feel so much better. Again, like I said, there's apps for that, there's websites, there's books to help out too. If you are looking for resources, you can always contact me and I'll definitely help out and I'll send you some of my resources that I have or suggestions if you would like suggestions. Again, you can reach me through the Facebook page Path to New You or the number I provided earlier. You can contact me there. You can text that number as well. Uh, so, again, mental stress is, I just talked about mental stress, talked about ways to help cope with it and ways to ease it. And these are just a few things that can help that I talked about that can help your mental stress. There's so many other things you can do as well. Google is a resource you can use if you're not quite sure what you need to do or what you can do. Always Google it. Again, you are listening to A Path to a New You. I am looking for more guests, so if you know anyone or you yourself would like to be a guest on my show, please contact me. Again, you can contact me via Facebook at A Path to a New You. Um, please like it. Please follow me. Also, once you're done listening to this episode of this podcast, if you could rate it as well as review it and let me know what you thought about it. And if there's something I can do to improve it, I would definitely like the feedback. Also, when you do click on the link, if you could follow my podcast as well and click on the bell, which I think it's either on the right or left hand top, click on it so when I get a new episode out, you get a notification. I'd really appreciate that too. Again, thanks for listening. You are listening to A Path to New You. Until next week, be safe, be well, and take care of yourself.